Welcome, Happy Clams, to my happiness video project about mindfulness. It's a powerful happiness strategy that is fun, challenging, and very rewarding. Mindfulness cannot be achieved, it can only be practiced. The more I practice, the better I get at it, and the more enjoyable my everyday life becomes. Happy Clam. Mindfulness is a concept that's been around for thousands of years, but only now is it starting to be practiced by people from every walk of life. In this video, I'd like to talk a little bit about my first experience with mindfulness. It was during chemotherapy, long before I'd ever even heard the word. Then, I'll explain how mindfulness leads me to a less stressful, more peaceful, and yes, of course, can you guess it? That's right, a more happy life. First, here's a quick explanation of mindfulness as I understand it. Mindfulness is the ability to step back mentally, to detach from emotions and physical senses, to see them as separate from my mind. Once they're separate from me, I can look at my emotions, examine them, and just be with them, without judgment, curiously wondering what feelings will come up next. People who approach dangerous or stressful situations with a calm disposition have figured out mindfulness, the ability to experience upsetting emotions and feelings without being controlled by them. Strong feelings of fear and anxiety naturally set off a whole cascade of hormonal and physical changes in our bodies, commonly referred to as the fight or flight response. So faced with a threat, my body prepares to defend itself or to run away. But I have a third option. I can be mindful and aware of these things in my body and still decide not to run or to fight. Mindfulness is also used as a therapy to focus a person's attentions on their habits, choices, and attitudes. There are even several online mindfulness courses that you can Google. Studies have shown that guided therapeutic mindfulness is effective for treating all kinds of addictions, anxiety, depression, chronic pain, and it enhances learning and our body's immune function. Mindful eating, for example, means paying attention to every bite, every flavor, texture, smell, everything about the food, how it makes my mouth and stomach feel, how I respond emotionally to each mouthful. I make no judgments about any feelings that come up, I just notice them and allow them to be. I'm curious about them and I allow myself to feel them. If my mind wanders to other thoughts, I gently bring my attention back to what I'm doing. So as a demonstration, I made one of my favorite pies, chocolate cream pie. And I'm going to have a bite mindfully. So good. Just being mindful of a behavior helps me learn about why I make the decisions I do. And it helps me make more thoughtful choices in my life. Once upon a time, on a cold, wintry day, about 15 years ago, I was laying naked, thin, and completely hairless in a bed in this very hospital. I was connected to an IV drip to my chest, as well as other monitoring devices, and I really wanted to take a break and go outside. You see, because I had cancer and HIV, I had to take my chemotherapy over the course of 4 days from a slow IV drip while lying in a hospital bed. My husband Rob slept in a cot right next to me every night. He had to help me with my clothes, shoes, jacket, blankets, and other stuff every time I wanted to leave the bed. Rob was up for about 3 such trips a day. My IV bag, hanging on a pole on wheels, had to go with me everywhere I went to. As I stood there before Rob in all my bald, naked, punctured glory, a rush came over me, and for an instant I saw myself separate from myself. Separate from my cancer and nausea and pain and everything I'd been going through. I just felt really happy to be going out. I raised my fists and I sang out, "Chemo Man!" Chemo Man gave us both a good hearty laugh that we desperately needed at the time. But it also gave me something to think about for the next decade or so. How did I have a moment of such levity and glorious hilarity smack dab in the middle of a fight for my life? How could I have such a moment of pure exhilaration and joy while taking poisonous chemo and puking practically every hour on the hour? My answer came to me about 5 years ago after seeing the movie Avatar. I realized that part of me was suffering cancer treatment, but part of me was not suffering. That part of me was just watching me suffer. I was so excited about this personal insight that I invented a new word and I made a video about it. Here's a clip featuring a slightly younger me. You are not your cavatar. Cavatar is a word I made up. It means that part of a human being that dies and decomposes. Your cavatar is what allows you to exist on Earth as physical beings. When it becomes too damaged or too old or too worn out, your cavatar will die. You will separate from your cavatar, leaving it behind. You will go on to another place, another reality. I don't know what that existence will be like, but I'm not here to talk about the afterlife, just life as we know it, right here and right now. Over my lifetime, my cavatar, especially my brain, has learned ways to act and respond to situations automatically. Mindfulness helps me realize when I'm thinking or acting in a knee-jerk or robotic way, without thinking. It also forces me to enjoy the things I like even more, while also learning about the things I do mindlessly. Of course, the opposite of mindful is mindless. I choose not to live mindlessly, and the more I practice mindfulness, the happier I become.